Hey, this is Stephen David Elliot. I'm the creator of Rockstar Connect and the host of this program, Three Martini Lunch. It's a national virtual networking event. And we believe here on this program, our panelists and myself, that success is contagious. And that's what we're here to do. We're here as entrepreneurs, small business owners, and salespeople to help you make the good decisions so you could be what I call a free person, an entrepreneur. So what is an entrepreneur? I read a definition a few days ago because I probably have never read a definition of it before, right? And it said someone who's willing to take risks, so that other people are not willing to take in order to lead a certain type of life and have a certain type of business. So we're going to jump right into the question of the week because it certainly deals with success. And it's sort of an open-ended question. You can answer it the way you like, but it's not a yes or no question. You can't just say yes or no. You're going to have to think about it a little bit. We've time traveled before on this program, haven't we? We time traveled back in time to kill Hitler. Well, you guys stunk at it. Everybody who time travels back to kill Hitler fails. Have you ever noticed that? Okay, here we're going to do a little time traveling here today. The question for today is if you could time travel back to day one of your business and have 15 minutes with your former self to communicate any lessons you've acquired up until this point with the intention of saving yourself mistakes and heartache, what would you tell yourself? Hey, who wants to take a stab at that first? We're going to take volunteers since we're jumping right into the question. Domenic. Okay, Domenic, go right ahead.
Yeah, I actually feel like this one's pretty easy. It's that I would advise myself to be more dedicated to the process and not the prospect. Okay. So what I mean by that is I spent a lot of time early on in my business, like, ooh, I've got this prospect, it's got a, great potential. And I spent a lot of time focused on that. And then it falls through. You've wasted a lot of time and work. You haven't gotten the results and you've ignored the rest of your process, your funnel, making sure that you have, other things coming. That way, if the big thing, right, that you've been focused on falls through, you still have business that's continuing to support you in your business. And it took me a little while to figure that out, that there's always going to be something else. So as long as you continue that front end and you nurture the people that you're working with and you nurture your network, you're going to have consistent results and ultimately build your business much, much stronger than it would be if you spend a lot of time focusing on one or two individual cases.
Would you still have the same path to get where you are? Would you have still gone to university? Would you have still been a chef and all those other things? Or would you have started doing what you're doing earlier?
I think about that, and I think that, if I was to, if I could go back and make different decisions, that would have been completely life-changing. There's a lot of things that I would have done along the way, but I'm just going back to the start of my business, right? And I'm not going to think about all of those other things, right? I'm just talking about what I'm doing now and what I've learned since I started this business. That being said, if I would go all the way back to university, I probably would have, instead of going to culinary school, I would have gone to law school, got my law degree, and worked in that direction because I found that even now I still have a passion for advocacy and arguing with attorneys quite a bit. It's one thing about attorneys, and if there's any attorneys listening, I don't mean any offense by this, but this is every single passion occupation, is that every single attorney and everybody else, 50% of those people graduate in the bottom half of their class. So it's a 50-50 shot. You're talking to a bad attorney when you're talking to them. So I don't have a problem arguing with those folks.
I mean, it's okay. From what I understand, attorneys really aren't human, so you can do anything you want.
That's not fair. Everybody's human. Even politicians, Stephen. Politicians are human. You gotta.
They're all too human. Politicians are probably the human of us all, and a lot of them are attorneys.
They are, and a lot of them, for some reason, OBGYNs. Who would have thunk it? Disproportionately.
I guess they, got bored with what they were doing. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of liability in being an OBGYN.
Yeah, that's a fact.
For sure. As far as also something that I've found is, rather than just deliberating on everything and doing all the pros and cons and trying to find out all the details of what you need to do something, it sort of stops you from doing stuff.
Sure. And
more so, I think, because you forget what you started out to do.
Well, doing that is not a very entrepreneurial mindset, right? That's a lot more of an engineering mindset. You need to know every last little detail of everything before you make a decision, because, if an engineer doesn't do that, then, the bridge collapses, the building falls, the water system crumbles, whatever. We need people like that in our society, but those people definitely not entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurs are, it's Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. It's move fast and break shit, right? That's what they need to do to be innovative, to be creative, to build a business that's going to stand out from all these other businesses, right? So, yeah, like you said, you can't. What's the
risk? But I think that once you actually start up your business and you're going, and it's moving, you forget a little bit about when you were an entrepreneur, when you had really difficult things and big things that you needed to do.
Sure.
And get caught up in the details. You just did them, and now you're actually doing it and you're producing, and you get caught up on little things that really don't have that much risk.
That's true. I think that, for a business to continue to grow and get bigger, you still have to keep that vision mindset, right? The person that's the head of the organization as it's in growth phase has to have that, kind of mindset of, we're going to move in this direction come hell or high water, and all the other people better get on board the program and figure out how to make it happen, because we're going that direction one way or another. And you're going to make mistakes. Anybody who starts a business, anybody who's an entrepreneur, understand you're going to make mistakes. And as long as you learn from them and progress from them, the faster you make your mistakes, the better you're going to get, right? If you spend all your time trying to prevent mistakes, you're never going to learn anything. You're just going to learn how to avoid taking action, and ultimately your business is going to fail.
Right. I mean, once you get up going and you're running and you're successful,
sure,
you learn that making money isn't necessarily the hardest part. The hardest part is sticking towards your mission.
Yes.
What you set out to do to begin with. And
sure,
all these money-making opportunities can be a real enormous distraction if that wasn't always your mission.
Hey, as long as it's in alignment with what your mission is, then making money can be a lot of fun, right?
Right. Good to have money.
Absolutely. No, it never hurt anybody.
It's too rich or too thin. That's the expression, right? You can never be too thin. Hey, we're going to come back. We're going to come back to you a little bit later after
sure
we hear
thing.
what else has to say. Let's go over to California and speak with Ray. Ray Fuentes.
Hola. Hello. Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. So if you could just tell us real quickly, what you do, and then I'll let you jump into the question.
Yeah, I'm a real estate agent with Fathom Realty Group in the Sacramento, California area.
And you're also a business coach and...
Well, yeah. Okay. I thought when we said original, I thought you meant my original business. I'm a business coach. I'm a Rockstar Connect host. I have a podcast called Interview with a Rockstar. Yeah.
Very cool. Speaking of Rockstar Connect, we had 2 new cities sign on.
Wow. Where?
Pensacola and Charlotte.
Very nice.
So they're very excited to be starting up, sometime around April to June. Okay, if you could time travel back to day one of your startup and have 15 minutes with your former self to communicate any lessons you've acquired with the intention of saving yourself mistakes and heartache, what would you tell yourself?
So I don't know about saving mistakes or heartache, but I would say, trust your gut. So I started 23 years ago. And 23 years ago in real estate, I wanted to start a TV channel, basically a video channel that talked about what was happening in the Sacramento region and houses, and what's the process like in buying a house, and in the last 23 years, how many TV shows have come up from real estate or house flipping or whatever. But I was afraid. I was concerned that it was going to cost me money to get a camera. It was going to take time, and that's not really selling real estate, and that's just one example. So it's not really about creating the TV show. It's more about trusting your gut, and don't be afraid of something that no one's done before, because at the time no one had really done that. So
I know you really would have been ahead of your time, but over the decades you've observed these shows and you've seen how successful they are, and it appears that content is even more important than it's ever been. I mean, right? Like, not everybody watches HGTV to learn about homes. A lot of people go to YouTube and
that's correct.
Go on Facebook, etc. Can you still start that TV program? I guess that's what you're doing with your interviews of rock stars in your community, right?
That's actually part of it, right? That's talking about local business owners and helping them get their name out. But I also do small videos, short videos that help my clients through the process. Hi, my name's Ray. Thanks for contacting me about buying a house. Here's the 3 things I'm going to help you with. Congratulations, you got pre-approved with a lender. Anyway, like my point is, regardless of what your business is, you probably repeat yourself with every client, certain things. Mm-hmm. And my recommendation, even today, is if you can create a short video that just says the same thing, do that. And then you can post it online, you can send it to them, through the process. So video today is definitely obviously a big player in business, and not just as a commercial, but in education.
That applies to all businesses. I mean,
correct.
Katie, with your organization, you've said 1 million times what your organization does, your mission, and how people can help, correct? Yeah, so I think you're giving us some good advice, Ray. In Rockstar Connect, in our back end, we have the Academy, of course, with videos telling people how to be successful with their events. And I recently accumulated, I don't know, Alan, about 25 hours of me speaking about how to run events that we recorded, and when transcribed. Sarah, how many pages is it?
I lost that one.
175 pages, like single space.
Wow.
175 single spaces on how to successfully run just one type of networking event.
There's your book.
There's the book right there. There's a course. Alan's got to make a whole bunch of videos for me. Alan is really great at videos. He makes videos for all of our Rockstar Connect hosts all over the country, pretty much upon demand. He's been making videos for me recently about North Carolina and North Carolina real estate. Keep in mind, Alan is not in North Carolina. Alan, have you ever been to North Carolina? Alan?
No, never. Oh.
You know where it is, though, vaguely.
Of course. Check it out.
Research
it's on the map.
He knows where it is. He knows where it is on the map. But he probably knows more about North Carolina than most people in the U.S. And he can pronounce Raleigh correctly, which most people in the U.S. cannot do. But he is just great at making videos. So, he just recently created a video for one of our clients that wants to access our groups in North Carolina. I don't know how he did it. Just made an incredible video very quickly. Just, I mean, he's really should be an inspiration for anyone that wants to create content. Him and his team is amazing. And his wife, who also works with us, Adeline, she has one of those Christian Amanpour, like hoity-toity accents, sort of thing.
Right.
Did I say that wrong? It's not Amanpour?
No, I said in a good way.
In a good way, like in a good way, like a princess or a queen is like telling you the news. So she's done some of the voiceovers on these things, and she's done a great job. So whatever resources you have to do videos, by all means do so. And if you're a Rockstar Connect host, reach out if you feel like you haven't been getting the video content you want from us in order to promote your events and the philanthropic things that you're doing in your organization. Entrepreneurs tend to, in my opinion, I've done tons of research on this. I wrote all this down, but seem to be very philanthropic. They feel a little shy promoting their own business, but they really do like to promote the community and help, organizations like Katie's organization. Since we're sort of talking to video, why don't we go to the video expert here, and I'll give her an opportunity to answer the question. Jennifer, you're the video expert, by the way, if you didn't know, on this panel today.
Well, yeah.
Jennifer is in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And she runs the Carolina Bulletin. I'm sure she does a lot of other things that she keeps secret from us, but we won't probe her for any information about that today. But we would like to go to the question. Now, if you could time travel back to day one of your business and have 15 minutes with your former self to communicate any lessons you've acquired with the intention of saving yourself mistakes and heartaches, what would you tell yourself? Probably sell Bitcoin yesterday. Right?
If I even understand that at all, I guess I still can't really grasp what that is. But yeah,
a million people on Facebook that would love to explain it to you. That is trading.
Sure.
So I can connect you there for sure. Go ahead.
If I had to go back in time, I'd say I should have been more careful and taken more time to understand a lot of the business functions. Yeah, sure, it's great to focus on your strengths and say, I'm a specialist in graphic design. Great. There's all these other functions of the business that you're not too fond of that you need to pay special attention to and get solidified quickly, which is bookkeeping, accounting, anything legal. You have to make sure that's solidified so that you can carry on the rest of your business smoothly. I learned the hard way what works, what doesn't, getting more organized for business taxes. That was one of the biggest pains that I had to learn from scratch, was basically not knowing anything about that. So if I had to tell myself, okay, I should have just gone and used Intuit QuickBooks from the beginning and should have, used like TaxAct to organize my business filings, because that, when you mess that up, when you have a business and trying to do personal taxes, it's just, it takes all your energy and strength away from focusing on what you do best. That was my biggest lessons. And then for all my functions of doing my business, I should have, I should tell myself, pay more attention for your presentations and do some more market research, to make yourself stand out more and make yourself as professional sounding from the beginning. Then, there are times where I thought, okay, looking back then, it's like looking at your original children's drawings. Back then when you were 5, you thought, oh, that was the best drawing I ever made. Now you're looking back and say that was the worst scribbles that I ever made with crayons ever. This is like me going back and say, I should have just paid more attention.
You get Facebook memories in your feed? Yeah. Do they send those to you?
Yeah, I still get them.
And you get content that you made like 4 years, 5 years ago, and you go, oh,
yes,
that was so awful.
It was embarrassing.
And of course, someone immediately shares that again.
Yes, and I'm like, oh, that's flattering, but it's not my best side of my face.
Delete that. I didn't mean to do that. Luckily, Facebook has deleted most of my inflammatory posts from like 8 years ago. because none of it was apparently acceptable, so that doesn't pop up anymore. If they could just go through everything I've ever written or posted back to like elementary school, I'd be very appreciative of them. If I could go back, I would say, yeah, just watch what you put out there in the public sphere. So I made a post this week, and initially it was keep, basically along the lines of keep a long story short. I don't need to hear your whole life story, just the bullets, man. It was getting some good engagement, and I thought, well, I'll edit it a little bit. I did it while I was in the car and not with much coffee, and I ended up editing it to just the bullets, man. And people were saying, like, what caliber? Are you okay? I was like, oh no, I lost, like, by trying to make it concise, I've lost everything. So maybe just the bullets are not enough, is what I learned from that. A little more extrapolation about what you mean could be important because it can be taken out of context. I'm lucky the FBI wasn't knocking on my door. Let's go to Katie. Excuse me. If you could time travel back to day one of your business and have 15 minutes with your former self to communicate any lessons you've acquired with the intention of saving yourself mistakes and heartaches, what would you tell yourself?
I think I've said this once before on here many months ago, but something I learned the hard way is that people, like, you, with success comes a loss of friends, because people, they're jealous. They can't handle watching, you thrive and be successful. And so, like, when I was a teacher and I, was on national news all the time because my GoFundMe had gone viral, a lot of my teacher friends who were like some of my best friends all of a sudden weren't very nice to me anymore. And like, I'm no longer friends with any of them. Out of this group of girls, but they were all younger, in their 20s. And, it tends to be the more insecure person. Whereas I've learned to focus on the people whose reactions when something good happens to me, their reaction is, oh my gosh, how can I be part of this? Versus the cool. And like, you can just kind of tell it's this flat, like they don't care. And then they start to call less. They start to check, like, it's just, and then, you hear through the grapevine that they're talking about you like negatively. And so I've just learned I would tell myself, don't take that so personally. I was like so upset. I was so shocked that was happening. And I've seen it happen a few times since, with other nonprofits kind of chiming in with unsolicited advice. And it's just, I've noticed it kind of comes from, and I still get worked up, but then I have to bring myself back down and remind myself, that a lot of people's reactions are about them and not you. And that's with all people's reactions. And a lot of times it comes from a place of jealousy, and to just, not focus on that and put, let my feelings get the best of me, and instead focus on the people and the other nonprofits that are supporting us and excited. And so that, I think, is like one of my biggest lessons in life, just overall business and not business.
Yeah, I think, I think partially it's because of success, but I also think you now entered into another world that they're not in. And
I think like being a teacher, all the articles were like, teacher, the best teacher, all this stuff. And it's like, I'm not doing a lot of, everyone's doing the same things I'm doing. They're just, no one knows about it. And so I think they kind of felt like, well, I'm a good teacher too. It's like, well, no one said you weren't. Like, I just did something that caught some attention. And I did something a little bit more. And I think it reminds people what they're not doing. And it's like, well, I'm not getting credit for all the stuff I do. And it's like, it's not about that. And it's so, it just reminds people what they're not doing also. Some people have just 9-to-5 jobs, come home, and that's it. And that's great. That's the life many people want. My cousin's a flight attendant because she wants that. She wants to come home and be done. She doesn't want to have to bring home work or stay late. When she's done, she's done. But some not entrepreneurs have a very different lifestyle, as everyone here knows. Work is never done, and you're always kind of on the clock, and it's a very different lifestyle. And also with entrepreneurs, there's lots of different types of recognition that typically a 9-to-5 cubicle desk job doesn't get. And so, when good things happen, especially in my world. And so I think it just makes people uncomfortable and they can't handle, good things happen. Like I once dated somebody, this didn't last long, shockingly enough, because he couldn't handle, he said, it's always you in your element and never me in my element. And I once in one day found out I was getting a really big award, or I was up for a really big award. And I was in this big magazine, like a 3-4 page spread. And I had to tell him about it on 2 separate days because I knew he couldn't handle these 2 big things happening to me in one day. And, and it's like, that's not how I should live my life. But that just, because it kept reminding him what he wasn't accomplishing in his life. And so, it's just,
it's a problem. I mean, Sarah and I are both entrepreneurs and we both lead the same lifestyle, but if one of us had to be, 9 to 5 in a cubicle, it'd be difficult. And further, when we started, that's sort of the way it was. And it was difficult until I showed Sarah the way to, free herself of the 9 to 5, which really was like the 6 to 7, 9 to 5 paid and the rest of the time, free work. But I think some of it is, those other people, they don't see where we come from too. It's like we see them as very successful in their 9 to 5 jobs too.
Well, that guy was an entrepreneur and he wasn't getting where he wanted to be. So it's tough when they feel like they're in competition versus like wise have a told, like the last guy I dated did have a 9 to 5 job. So he didn't ever feel threatened by me and it was fine. But when they're trying to be in the same world you're in, even though it wasn't nonprofit world, he was still an entrepreneur. It's just tough for some people. They can't, if they're not where they want to be, it's really tough for them.
Yeah, the whole 9 to 5 world is sort of a mystery to me, and it's sort of intriguing because I never really got to experience it. The only 9 to 5 jobs I had were, entry level into my career, and I only did it for a few years. But sometimes it's just sort of really interesting to me, being in real estate and seeing people with 9 to 5 jobs, that they take set vacations, like their vacations at a set time every year, and they're waiting for their bonus, someone to give them their bonus, or because we have to write our own checks. We have to create our checks 100%. I mean, in our case, our signatures are on our checks. That's something altogether different. So let's go over to Clint. Clint, if you could time travel back to day 1 of your business and have 15 minutes with your former self to communicate any lessons you've acquired with the intention of saving yourself mistakes and heartaches, what would you tell yourself?
Man, that's tough. Definitely be more patient and organized and balanced. So by balance, like was my career, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't have my own business. I run my own business because I'm in sales and I'm in outside sales. So I get to run everything the way that I see that it should be done. And I hit the ground running and did not give myself enough personal time and enough grace because I was trying to build my network. I was trying to not have to work. And I think that if I would have spent more time prospecting and networking in a different way, it would have given me more time for that personal space that I needed. So I wouldn't have had to be doing so much work on myself as I am now if I would have done that.
Now, I've seen a lot of people that are, they started off with a job and then they went entrepreneurial, they built their network, but then they jump back into the job. Because it's someone's offering them a good deal of money,
right, in
order to do that. But then they are frustrated. They're sort of caught between both worlds. They keep on jumping back and forth. So you say you're not an entrepreneur, but you are a salesperson, and a salesperson, if you don't sell, you don't eat. No one's going to keep you on. You can't pretend you're working. That's not.
I mean,
gonna
you
work.
can. I've pretended I'm working plenty.
But how long will that last? If you don't have
Exactly, not, and that's part of the being organized thing. And I'm always a fan of the anybody that knows me and knows my type of sales mentality is like I play the long game and I'm okay with it. And so it's weird that patience is one of my things, but I want the long game to hurry up, right? And it can't do that. And so you just have to be more patient. You have being more organized with that is, making more calls, going out and visiting more businesses. And that in turn could build more relationships. And I never looked at it that way. And so
I have an impression that, you would be a phenomenal right-hand man for someone who's an entrepreneur, Mark Zuckerberg's wingman or something.
Well, see, my end game, Stephen, is to be in business development and that side of sales instead of like an account executive kind of thing. Because the business development, that's where I would really make my money, make my mark, I think.
So my question is, so if you were in business development, would you think like an entrepreneur and say, take that risk, I'm going to 100% business development position, or would you still sort of lean back to wanting to have that job situation, with a draw or what have you?
First of all, I hate draws. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I hate draws. I don't think I would ever take a job that had that anymore. I would definitely jump in 100% to the business development because I am in relationships. I am not in sales. And so I think that because of that mentality that I have, it would be, like Domenic, and actually most of you guys here, Dr. Holly, Ray, I mean, it's like we all are in, relationship-based sales. Okay. We're all trying to sell a product or sell ourselves. And it's, being in the business development world, you're in sales. You're bringing business to those who are supposed to close the business. But in my mentality, and I just had this conversation recently with a friend of mine, Joe May, said my mentality on business development is my job is to close the sale. My job is to build that relationship so well that they cannot say no to me or anybody else in my company. Mm-hmm. So and that's where I want to get in eventually.
So how far would you want to bring the deal? Do you want to bring it all the way to the close and then just hand it off to someone else?
No, that wouldn't be my job. My job would be to make sure that they didn't say no.
Make sure they didn't say no.
Right. That would be my job. And if somebody on the back end, because as the business development person, based on that relationship and based on that person's personality and the way that they like to do things, which salesperson to hand them off to, right? Mm-hmm. And so that would be part of my job. It's your job to close the sale, to get the contract signed, to do all that. But I've already closed the relationship, and as long as I close the relationship, then it should not be a problem for you to put pen and paper on that contract. I mean, put ink on that contract and get it done.
It sounds like if that's what you want to do, there'd be a very high demand.
Yeah.
But
you would be amazed, Stephen. A lot of companies, the one that I work for right now, I work for Cuico Office Systems. They've never had a business development person because in total, that kind of business, the copier sales business, has never really had a business development person. And so I've presented a path to that for them. And so we'll see.
I mean, frankly, that you would think they would need it more because so many people feel they don't need it, so they don't pursue it, or the salesperson doesn't pursue them.
Yeah, and because of the way that I build relationships, I'm kind of doing that right now and kind of showing them. I have $145,000 in my pipeline that I've just acquired in 2 weeks, and that's based on relationships, not based on anything else.
And it's completely new to them because
right.
Well, very cool. Okay, so that's some valuable time travel right there. Let's go to Dr. Holly. By the way, we have a smaller group today and a smaller time setting because we're trying a few different things because we're launching a lot of different events around the country, and many people that have seen the 3 Martini lunch / success is contagious, they want to do that in their market. They don't want to be me on the screen though spending 2 hours doing it. They want to learn how they can provide value to their community and in an abbreviated way, and that's why we're doing this. And I'm so happy that such high thinkers as yourselves would participate today, especially from such different career verticals. And thank you again. So Holly.
Yes.
Dr. Holly, if you could, and red looks very nice on you as well.
Thank you. I'm trying to be a Domenic when I grow up.
Not to discriminate. I mean, it's funny, Ray wears red shoes. I wear red socks.
Whatever makes you feel good.
I wear red socks. So red socks are great because it's, a lot of men, even if they're not colorblind, they have a real hard time distinguishing their socks in the morning because they're not turning on the lights to bother their spouse. And, the brown socks and the black socks and the blue socks all look the same color in the morning.
Well, Steven, real quick, man, red doesn't look good on people with fair skin like ourselves and on men. Women can get away with it. Men cannot.
I think you would look great in red.
I do not. Awesome in red. You can ask my wife. She will tell you the same thing.
Yeah, but she says all sorts of bad stuff to you.
He's only saying that because he doesn't like NC State.
Oh, is that
That's
it?
part of it, maybe. I have a reputation to keep, Domenic.
It's
same reason I won't wear blue, Clint. Yeah.
In this town, it is so difficult to sell the light blue, like the UNC blue houses. And there's a lot of them here. Like people will, God, I don't even want to look in that house. It's just paint, completely hostile. Did any of you go to UNC? Well, obviously you're all sticking your fingers down your throat. So
I'm from Chapel Hill, born and raised, and I did not go to UNC, but I graduated from high school in Chapel Hill and been in Chapel Hill my entire life.
But we love you anyway, Clint.
The first house I moved to in Raleigh was painted UNC Chapel Hill blue, and the neighbors wrote to me like once I moved in, and they said that color was never approved. That color was never approved. When am I going to change it? Color? And I said, I mean, I'm not married to it one way or the other. Will you pay to have it painted? They wouldn't.
Hate is real, Steven. It's all over the place, bro. So I said, if you can pay for it, that's fine. I mean, you're lucky I didn't paint it, Gators royal blue and neon orange. I don't think I would go that far. I'm not that big of a fan. I mean, I love my university, but not that much. Holly, okay, so we're going to give you the question. If you could time travel back to day one of your startup and have 15 minutes with your former self to communicate any lessons you've acquired with the intention of saving yourself mistakes and heartaches, what would you tell yourself? I mean, this is almost like your job. You do this with your clients. You're them coming to them from the future, right?
Yeah. So if I go back to the beginning of Dr. Holly Speaks, which had a different name in the beginning, I literally go back 28 years. So I've done this, what I do now, for 28 years.
And some of us weren't even born 28 years ago.
I know. People like you, Stephen. That's right. Yeah. Oh, it's too funny. But no, I would have said, and then I worked for the man. I got 2010, I got divorced, and I went back to work for the man because I felt like I needed to have, the stability and the benefits and all of that stuff. I still had children in the house. And then the minute I could, I went back out on my own because it's just so much better. In my humble opinion, I love what I do when I'm working for myself. But I would have told myself 28 years ago, two things: have more confidence and stress out less. I didn't know when I got started that I had several superpowers that nobody else had. And I was a type A+++ person and very, very hard on myself. I felt like people were constantly breathing down my neck, and that I had to be absolutely spectacular or I wasn't going to have another meal on my plate. And so that caused me to work extra hard, extra long hours, put a lot of extra pressure on myself. And the coolest thing about working the regular job for 10 years taught me I had at any point in time 40 people like me that I had to supervise. It's hard to find a good corporate trainer. It's hard to find a good corporate speaker. It's like almost impossible. People will tell you they can do it. They will be just very self-assured that they can do it, and they can't. And I tried using college professors. They hated it. I tried using people from business and industry. They didn't like it much either. It's really weird the kind of person that it takes to do what I do. And so if I had known that back then, I could have perhaps enjoyed the ride a little bit more than I did.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, and I experienced this as well, sort of it's that charlatan syndrome. You don't think you're an expert in something, so therefore when someone offers you the opportunity, you decline. Mm-hmm. And as you get older, you learn that almost every expert is a self-declared expert anyway.
Right.
Right? They're an expert by their own point of view. And I can see it, with like my friends that have certain skills that I have, and they have more confidence. They're able to shift in that role a lot more easily. Like, Ray and Domenic and Katie and all of you guys can just shift into that role. If someone needs you to be that solid expert and to speak confidently and give good advice, just like on this program. Now, this is a panel of experts, but it's more a panel of confident people that are willing to share of themselves and share our view of the world. Mm-hmm. Take it or leave it. It might not work for you, right? So I guess I should answer this question myself. If I could time travel back and give some advice, I think I would tell myself it's okay to say no. It's okay to turn things down. Mm-hmm. Not every opportunity needs to be taken, and it takes you off your path. What I have found as I become more mature and hopefully more wise is there are some people out there that they just talk a good talk. They don't really follow through on anything whatsoever. Those are people that are going to distract you from your goal, and they tend to be sort of like energy vampires. They're going to seek you out. So if you have a lot of energy, as soon as I said that, Katie raised her eyebrow because she has some energy vampires around her that she hasn't cut out yet, right?
Well, I have a lot of energy, and so sometimes I feel like I drain people because I feel like everyone feels like they have to match my energy when they're around me. So I try to bring it down so I'm not an energy vampire. But I know energy vampire like sucks your energy in like a bad way. I hope I don't do it in a bad way.
No, I think you do it in a great way. You only feel that way because people like you are, I wouldn't say we're like one in a million. I don't want to like blow everybody's heads up, but it's not, as Holly said, not everyone has the same talents and skills that we have. They have different skills. So like I look at people that can, build a building or a whole community or an airplane, engineers do some pretty incredible stuff. I don't think any of us here could do that. Boy, would we, maybe if we could, we would, but we don't. But what we are very good at is relationships and inspiring other people to do the best in their life and advise them and assist them in doing the things that they may or may not know how to do. Domenic, we started with you and we gave you the question. Why don't you comment a little bit about what everybody else has brought to the table, because really everyone brought a different answer to this, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I do want to speak to what you were talking about there a second ago, Stephen, the power of saying no, right? Because when you're or not young, but when you're young in your business, when you're first starting out, you feel like, okay, in order to develop a reputation, right, in order to provide customer service, you need to say yes to everybody. You need to say yes to your employees. You need to say yes to your clients. You need to say yes to your vendors. You just need to say yes, 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 yes. And, you know, learning and having the power and the confidence, right? That, because it takes confidence to say the word no and to feel okay about it, right? It's like even my kids call me a no bot at home, right? Because as a parent of 3 teenagers, my automatic answer to any question, I don't care what it is going to be no until it is otherwise yes. But you don't, right? You don't want to say that. You have to develop the confidence to be able to say that and to be able to understand what that means and the power that holds, right? And when you're talking about with businesses and trying to develop a relationship with people and get people to like you, right? Because you in any business, especially when you're developing clients, it's know, like, trust. People know who you are. You want to get them through the get to like you part, and you think you can't say no to anybody because of that. And as long as you just, you make it clear, okay, these are my boundaries as an entrepreneur. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. This is what I can help you with. I can help you meet the person that will be able to do the thing that you want them to do. And then explain, right? I don't want to do that because I don't think that it would be beneficial for you to have me do this thing that you want me to do that I know I'm not going to be able to do as good a job as this other person over here will be able to do for you. And because I respect our relationship that much, I'm going to recommend you go this direction. When you want X, Y, and Z that I do better than anybody else, we will have a conversation. And I think people will actually come out on the other side respecting you more for being forthright and giving a no and giving a good explanation for the no, instead of, being the surly server at the restaurant who's just going to be like, more ketchup, hell no, I'm not going to do that. I need to take a smoke break, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a professional no.
I mean, we all have to learn. We all have to learn, right? I mean, actually, a server did teach me something.
Yeah.
Once, I ate at that restaurant quite a bit, and one of the habits that I always had was after the food would come, I would ask for something. Ketchup, barbecue sauce, what have you. And she said, I know you well enough at this point. You come in here a lot. It would save me so much time, and I would be able to provide you so much better service if you just told me you wanted the barbecue sauce when you ordered the food.
Well, and as a former restaurateur and chef, what I trained my servers to do was to ask the question when the order is taken, right? Oh, you're going to have a burger? How would you like that cooked? Would you like ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise with that? What kind of cheese did you want? Oh, you wanted Swiss cheese? Well, could I add sauteed mushrooms to that burger? Because that goes really good. And just it becomes if you say this, your follow-up question should be this. And with the idea that as a server, right, you're going to upsell this guest and you're going to take a $10 burger and you're going to turn it into a $15 burger because you asked the appropriate questions to give that customer exactly what they wanted.
Right.
And everybody said the customer's happy, you're happy because you make more money, because you're tipped on a percentage of your bill, et cetera, et cetera. So, understanding that as a good salesperson in that situation, that asking good questions is going to get you much further than just telling the person that you're working with, well, if you'd have just told me that beforehand, because I would look at it and be like, isn't that your job to ask?
Yeah, but I mean, because they felt comfortable. I mean, with some clients, you feel very comfortable and you tell them why you ask certain questions.
Yeah, sure.
So a lot of what I do is scripted, But when I have a very sophisticated client, I don't want to just serve them a script. I want to explain to them why I served them that script, because it'll help them understand where we're going. I mean, some people are not ready for that.
Well, absolutely. But if you're good at what you're doing and you've practiced and you've trained and you've done it 1,000 times, yeah, it may be scripted, but it's not going to sound like a script. It's going to come off very fluid and conversational. And those questions that are going back and forth between your waiter and you about your food order is just going to sound like this is just a natural part of the conversation. I never even thought about getting asked these questions, but I'm just going to respond because they're asking.
Truth. So, Ray, like when you get on the phone with another salesperson, they've called you and they're pitching you and they're starting to use that language, like the rights, the prompts, you're nodding your head. Do you appreciate it, or are you sort of like, you know what, we can just cut to the chase?
Well, I kind of appreciate it because I would rather. I'll just give you an example. Next, I may have said this before. If next time you contact one of your service providers, like your cell phone or your television, and you need some help, they're going to say, "I can definitely help you with that." They use the word "definitely" all the time. Mm-hmm. They're trained to, and I appreciate that because that supposedly, gives them the confidence to help me. So I would definitely use the word "definitely" in a conversation with someone like that. So if someone's going to contact me to sell something, I want to know that, that they are using good sales techniques.
So someone who's probably nodding his head right now, we can't see him, is Alan up there, because he ran at one point a call center with 250 people underneath him. So the only people that got to talk to him were the real major pain in the asses, right, Alan?
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that there.
So how would you diffuse a situation like that?
Well, I'm normally explaining how the whole system goes after sugarcoating it quite a lot. Works.
I was just giving that little explanation. I was very impressed with Dell, for example. I had to deal with Dell for a couple issues, and they would get on the phone, and the first thing they would say is, English is not my first language. I may have an accent that you may not understand. If you're having any difficulty understanding what I'm saying, let me know, because I'll slow down and speak a little more slowly so you understand. Well, I think it was sort of like probably a reaction to people who previously got irate because they couldn't understand, and instead they're just like, we anticipate that you might have that problem. Let's lessen the tension. As we're coming up on the end of the hour, was there anyone else that would like to comment?
I'd like to chime in on that. I worked at a call center for 5 years for one of the most hated companies in the country. I worked for Time Warner Cable for 5 years in the call center. And so I was the one that had to de-escalate the situations. And it's because, I wasn't the one that said, "Oh, I can definitely help. I can definitely do this." I was like, "Let me see. I'll find the answers. Give me a few minutes, blah, blah, blah." And it's just one of those things that call center is such a different, if any of you guys have not worked in a call center before, Alan will tell you, it is like the most stressful job you could possibly have.
Best education you can have for relationships, though, ever.
Well, you have 30 seconds to build a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally 30 seconds or they'll hang up on you. Right. And my job was sales. And, this is, working in a call center in sales, people think, "Oh, you're just getting sales calls and sales calls and sales calls." No, 10%. 10% are sales calls. The other ones you have to make. Mm-hmm. So you have to start that relationship quickly.
I think if anyone can have the opportunity to do sales on the phone, they should do it. A lot of us are finding that's what they're doing now in the age of COVID. They've now become phone salespeople. But de-escalating that situation, establishing a relationship is especially important. Real estate agents do it every day with other agents on the phone. I mean, we have to become friends with that other agent. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming this week. I hope you can be a panelist next week. For those of you that are watching, we'd love to hear comments about this abbreviated format and what you think. In the meantime, everyone, thank you to all our great panelists. Everyone have a wonderful day. See you next week.